And welcome back to another segment of Transport Fever 2. We are looking now at the machines factory that we set up last time and its supply of Hartford with machine parts. It currently has 180 planks that are sitting in the factory waiting for steel to arrive so they can turn it into machine parts. This steel is, as we kind of know, is a little bit slower than some of the other pieces, and that's something that we need to look at kind of moving forward. Looks like we are currently at a point where the iron is just taking too long to get there. Let's look to kind of start today. Let's look at kind of trying to solve and increasing the efficiency of this, and then we're going to go back to Salt Lake City and Detroit and start working on a connection there. Let's start by looking at the iron to steel line. That's 72 seconds is what we're looking at. If we look at the coal line, the coal loop, we're at 75 seconds. Oh, interesting. So iron is 72, coal is 75. Okay, so actually, truck to truck, the iron is actually a shorter distance than it is for the coal. That's interesting. Okay. So what we should see then is we should see a gradual kind of equalization of this stock from coal to iron. The issue is that these coal trucks are running sometimes half empty or 100% empty when they're going up there. So we are going to go ahead and increase the amount of trucks that are going to the iron line. We're going to do 3 more. Okay, just to see if we can increase the amount of steel that's being produced out of this so that we can increase the amount of goods coming into, because this 198 to 0 is kind of that's a big gap, and we want to close that gap as much as possible. That can't happen until we have a consistent steel production here, which can't happen unless we have more iron. So we're going to use those 3 trucks. Hopefully that helps increase the production. Let's see, is that full? Nope, it's got 4 of 6. So this got 6 of 6. Let's see here. So everything is, we'll just see how that goes moving forward. Okay, so everything's going well here. Let's take a look at the finances to begin. Everything's going well. We are making money across the board, with the oil to fuel supply loop being our biggest right now at 113,000, with our least being the machine supply. But again, that's still making money, so we're doing okay. Big finances wise, we're making about 300,000 in profit every 6 months. That's good. We have about 5.6 million in the bank, and we're going to go ahead and do a major improvement project now to try and increase that, but also spending most of our money. A great way to make money in Transport Fever 2 is passenger rail lines. These passenger rail lines are use the same rails as the goods supply. And it's high demand. People will go back and forth between cities. And the more cities you link together, the more people want to go on those journeys. We have talked about there being a goods transfer between Detroit and Salt Lake here. Fuel coming from Salt Lake down to Detroit, and food being produced in Detroit and being transferred to Salt Lake. That's going to be a really good back and forth eventually. But to begin, we're going to go ahead and build the rail line between those and go ahead and put a passenger service on there to get those 2 cities connected. Okay. Eventually, that Detroit line will go over probably to Hartford or to Mobile. We're gonna figure that out as part of one of our big 3 goals. Salt Lake City will eventually go to St. Louis and start looping around that way. Okay. But we're going to build a passenger rail line between these 2 areas. All right, so that's a pretty major project that we're going to get done. I've kind of designated this spot right here as being a good spot to have our rail line. There are several kind of big things you need to remember when creating passenger lines, when creating rail lines, we're going to ignore some of those right now because it's only going to be between these two stops and we don't have very much money. So to start, we're going to go to our rail section. We're going to go to buildings, and we're going to start with a passenger station. Now we're going to make this 120 meters long, and we're just going to put it right at the edge of town here. And there's going to be a way that we're going to kind of feed this station with people here in just a second. But we're going to try to find a relatively flat piece of land. We go there, okay? And then we're going to go over to Salt Lake City, and we're going to do the same exact thing. Now, we need to find a spot that Salt Lake City that will help Salt Lake City grow, but also connect the most people possible. I kind of see this area right here as being a good spot. So we do need to kind of flesh out those roads a little bit more. And so we're going to expand the city outwards. And then we're going to be spending a lot of money here, but that's okay. All right, we're going to go in. And then we are going to leave a bit of a gap. And I'm going to show you why we're going to leave a gap here in just a second. Okay, so that's going to be, we're going to put our train station right here, and then something else is going to go right there. See, it's already going to start building out that infrastructure to match what you're looking to try to do. We are going to do a terminal station here for now. And this is one of those things that I wouldn't do unless I didn't have enough money. I would build a throughway station, but we're going to do a terminal station for right now and then renovate later. Okay, so there's that. We've got our two stations. Okay, and now we need to connect the two with rail line. Now, when you're doing this, it's, again, important to try to go as flat as possible because those tracks are the cheapest to build, the flat tracks, but also it helps maintain the speed of the train. So one thing that you can do is go up here to this options menu and look at your terrain. This is the contours line map. So it helps you see where hills are, where it can be a little bit challenging without it. So everything that kind of is the same level without a line, that's all level ground comparative to each other. Once you hit a line, that's some kind of ridge, and everything within that bubble is all the same level. And as you get closer to peaks, the circles get smaller and smaller. Okay, so this is a mountain peak right there. Okay, you can actually see on the map as well. Okay, so what we want to try to do, this water, what we're going to try to do is try and keep our rail line as level as possible all the way through. And it looks like along this road, it's actually fairly level. So we're going to start down here, and we're going to follow the road all the way to Salt Lake City. Okay, so this is the expensive part. Okay, so we're going to just start, and you can kind of see my arrows adjusting up and down to try to match the contours of the environment. As long as we keep it relatively flat, see that's going up right now, we're going to keep that flat. Actually, we're going to go up slightly, because I know that there is a hill coming up. Oops, see, it's already... So, keep it down like that. And we're just going to build along this road. And the AI of Transport Fever 2 really does want to help you. It wants to help you build the most efficient route possible. So what it will often do is build hills in, build ridges, build tunnels, or build bridges whenever it sees fit in order to make sure it's as consistent as possible in your speed. But that also means it's going to be more expensive. So, like for instance, if I were to take this all the way across, and try to link it up, it's going to build this massive ridge through the middle and cost me a lot more money because it wants to maintain that 75 miles an hour the entire time. Okay? But if instead we do this little smaller route, it won't build as much of a ridge, and it also maintains the same speed. Okay, it's just, you have to fight the AI sometimes of the game in order to make sure you're not spending too much money. And actually, my money's going pretty well right now because I'm making money as I'm building this. Okay, I gotta see where my... Still got quite a ways to go. Okay. So if I were to go like all the way from here all the way to the end point, let's see what happens there. We're looking at like 1.5 million. It's got a tunnel in there, all that kind of stuff. We don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and cancel that. Let's get past this road and we'll start coming from the other side, because this is becoming a little bit challenging to see kind of where we're going. Okay, so we're going to go past that road. Actually, let's go to our depot. So that'll be a good mile marker for us. See, I tried to build a ridge there to maintain the speed and the level. We don't want that. We just want to keep building these small segments so it'll help maintain our price point. Okay, all right, start curving that way. Then we'll come from Salt Lake City and do the same thing. Okay. Now, later when we start doing multi-track stations, I'll show you about how to do cross sections so that your trains can go to any platform from the same tracks. But right now, we're just trying to get this one track going. It's important to be perfectly level coming out of your station if you want to make sure that you can do cross sections later. Okay. So now we're going to try to line this up as best we can. That's pretty good right there. And then all the way. So still got a little ridge there. So we're going to try and do it a little bit smaller increments. Build that ridge again. We don't want that. Bring it over. There we go. Perfect. All right, we now have a successful train line from both sides. Wonderful. All right, so one of the issues that we have with this train line is that these train stations only catch, similar to the terminals, they catch only a certain area of the city. So you want to be able to include everyone in your catchment. How do you do that? You do that by setting up bus stations and bus routes to feed your train stations, okay, in both cities. Both these cities are too big for this one station, so you kind of have to build those bus stations. Also, those bus stations might not make you a ton of money, but because they feed the train station then makes a ton of money. It's all worth it in the end, okay? So to start that process, we need to go ahead and build a bus stop. And this bus terminal is kind of be your central hub of your bus stop network connected to your train station. Because I'm putting it right across the street, you see that my train station is lining up like it's being in the catchment zone. So we're going to put it there. And then we're going to use bus or tram stops to encircle this city and get as much catchment as possible. You see that this bus stop has a pretty good amount of the city already in catchment, meaning that people can walk to this station and get on a bus and then ride it. But we want to make sure that we're future-proofing this bus route. So we're going to go ahead and start putting bus stops at different intervals around the city that help the most people possible. We're actually going to delete that one. It's not a good one. We're going to put these bus stops so that the most people possible can get around the city. Okay, so we're going to connect this road up because I want to make a loop. Okay, buildings, bus stop. We're going to put a bus stop up here by these factory buildings. Then just loop around and put one more over here. All right, so you kind of see I have every part of the city covered. I got this central corridor. I've got this part over here. Actually, I don't have that, so let's try to get that section in. This will be easy to do, right like that. See, nope, perfect. Now I've got this area here. I've got this segment. I've got this segment. I've got this segment, and I've got this segment again. Okay. Now, if you watch like professionals play this game and people that are much better than me, they'll tell you that really you only need one bus stop per segment of the city. So if you look at this here, this will tell you the industrial, the commercial, and the residential sections of your city. Blue is the commercial, yellow is the industrial, and then white is your residential. And so as long as you have a bus stop between those three, then you're good. I like to put a few more just to make sure everyone has options. Now we need to create a line, a bus route. Okay. I always start with the terminal, and then I kind of just make a clockwise loop around each of the stops. And then I go back to the terminal and I do a figure eight. So now I go backwards. And what this does is it gives the buses and the people the option of going one way or the other on the same bus route and be able to connect between them. So that does mean that on occasion there will be people waiting at the bus stop for longer than they normally would. But it does mean that all of your sections are covered the entire time, and your buses aren't necessarily going to be full all the time so that people can't get on. We're going to label this as bus, and then we're going to just put the full name of the city. Okay, Salt Lake City. All right, cool. So we have our road depot. We need to buy a bus. Passenger. All right, we have the Mac, which is a diesel-powered 60 mile an hour. We're going to go 2 of those. And we're going to do bus, Salt Lake City. Wonderful. Wonderful. And we're going to turn bus routes. We're going to go green for all bus routes everywhere, because each city will only have one bus route, most likely. Green, green. Green buses. Great. Wonderful. So that will start transporting people around the city, making it easier. It will make money, but it might not always be positive. The real money you're going to get is whenever people start getting on the train and trying to go to Detroit. We got to do the same thing now at Detroit. So let's go over there. I won't talk through this process as much because I think you get it now. But same process as before. We're going to start with a bus terminal. Try to make it as straight as possible. There's a bit of a trick with these terminals as well, because you can add cargo terminals onto them later. We are going to do that. It's just not necessary at this point. Okay, so my catchment so far is that section. So we need to go up here. We need to go here. We need to go down here. And then we're going to go here. Okay, and actually we're going to build a road connecting this section here so that it can be a full loop. Okay, let's go ahead and build our line. Give you a better view. Lower Detroit, then go backwards. Plus, this is Detroit. All right. Do we have any road depots in this area? We do not. Now, I'm not going to send trucks from Salt Lake City, so we need to build a new road depot. That's way too expensive. There we go. There's in the 20s. 26,000, 27,000, perfect. All right. These trucks, I put that in the wrong spot because I'm going to have to build a train line. Well, we'll see how it goes. Buy vehicles. We're going to do two Mac buses out of here. And we're going to do bus Detroit. Okay. All right. Time for the expensive part. If you notice, okay, we are maintaining our money pretty well. Now we need to build the actual train itself. Okay. Now, trains, in order to operate, need to be built just like trucks do. So you have to start with a train depot. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and build this train depot right off to the side of the train track. And there's a reason why I'm building it like this that I'll show you just in a second. Okay, because we want this train depot to have access to both sides of the track eventually. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by bringing it out straight, and then we're going to bring it around and loop it so they can go in directly into Detroit if we wanted to. Secondly, we're going to have this go in the opposite direction as well, so you can get to Salt Lake City if we want to. Now, you only really need these train depots to produce trains. You don't actually need it every single time. That is one of the kinds of flaws, the realism flaws with this game, is that you can't upgrade these trains, these trucks, without sending them somewhere. They just kind of like appear as new things. But to produce new trains and get them on the line, they have to come out of this building. Okay, we're going to go ahead and set up our train line now. So even though we're moving on to a different form of transportation, we're moving on to trains, you still do the same system as before. New line, and then instead you click the two passenger platforms of the train network, and it links together with a blue line. We're going to keep all of our train passenger lines as this deep, rich blue. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and do a new coding system. TRN for me means train, and then PAX means passenger. And then we're going to go ahead and say the two cities that are going to be connected. Detroit to Salt Lake. What's my Salt Lake City? Okay, Salt Lake City. Make sure this needs to be a dash. Okay, we're going to do PAX, we're going to do colon. Okay. Train PAX. There. Train PAX Detroit to Salt Lake City. Enter. Okay, now we have to buy the train. Let's see if we can get it under $5 million. Okay, so here's a whole new menu for you to take a look at. There's a lot going on here. We need a steam train. We do not have access to electrics or diesels yet. Steam train. We have the Baldwin, which costs $1 million, and that's $171,000 in upkeep a year. The Mogul is $1.4 million. The 10-wheeler is kind of my preference, but it's $2 million. And then the Atlantic is definitely a brute of a machine, and that'll be a huge boost for us when we start doing cargo later. The 10-wheeler would definitely be my pick, but for this early line, I don't think we can do it. Top speed 62 miles an hour. Top speed 47 miles an hour. Baldwin 37 miles an hour. I think I need to go with the Mogul for now. It's going to be fast enough for what we need, and we're not going to have that many passengers going back and forth. So hopefully it'll be good enough for us. So we're going to go with the Mogul. We'll upgrade later if we need to. And then we got to do passenger cars. We got two options. Now, something that you need to keep in mind when you're playing this game is whatever your train maximum speed is will be as fast as your wagon can go. So if your wagon is actually a lower speed than your train will only go as fast as your slowest wagon. So those two need to be pretty closely linked. Like 68, that will not be the new speed of my train. It'll still be the 47. So I'm going to go with this, the passenger car with clear story. We're going to go 1, 2, so for 32 person capacity. Actually, let's just start with 1, and then we'll add a second one if the demand is high enough. Okay, 16 capacity, 47 miles an hour. It's 37 meters long. It's going to cost me $2.2 million. This mediocre grade over here is really important. If your train is too heavy, then that will go to bad. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, so like it's still going to be okay for right now, but so poor. So all of a sudden now this train will not operate very well because it doesn't have enough power. So we got to go ahead and just get rid of these. So I always try to be in the good or mediocre range because then it'll be just fine. Okay. On flat terrain, it'll go 47 miles an hour. On medium terrain, it'll go 41, and then it'll if it has to climb the hills, it'll go 22. But we're okay because we're going to be on flat terrain almost the entire time. Let's buy it. Let's send it on its way. All right, this is kind of an important milestone for us. It's our first train. And so let's take a look at it out of the gate. And it's going to start with Detroit. So it's going to head this way. Unfortunately, with trains, you don't really see... It's going to take some time before people realize that they can take a train to Salt Lake City. So there might not be any passengers on this first run, but we're going to go ahead and see if that's the case. But I mean, for people who really love this game, I mean, like myself, the train network is the coolest part. It's got the most variety. It's got the most dynamic components to it. It's the most fun to create and build and maintain and organize. The trucks are okay. The airplanes later are kind of fun, but overall, the trains is really what excites people. Okay. So, like I said, this doesn't have any passengers on it yet because no one really knew that the train was coming, and the bus system hasn't really paid off yet. So we're going to keep that pinned up here just to kind of give me an update for whenever it reaches Salt Lake City. But let's take a look at our bus network. So each of these little nodes now has people waiting for buses to take them to a location. Okay, so for instance, there's one person waiting at the main terminal to go to Park Street, which is this one here. Okay, there's 3 people going Lower Detroit. All right, so these 3 people probably want to go to the train. Okay, we got 11 and 6. We got 3 and 2. We got 3. So there are people waiting to eventually go to the train. So much so that I'm actually going to get a 3rd bus to start making that system better. Okay, let's go ahead and change the color of this because we said all buses were going to be green. So bus line is going to be green, just so we can more easily see those bus lines. Okay, so a 3rd bus is now in circulation, going to help feed that system. Oh, I already got rid of my train pin. So we got that up there. Let's go over to Salt Lake City. Okay, see what the system is over there. All right, we have even more people over here waiting. So we got 24 and 8, 5 and 1. We got 6 and 3. We got 2 and 2. And we got 3 and 4. And look, we already have one person waiting to get on the train. I'm going to build one more bus on this city network as well because I want it to be successful. I want those trains to be full. This is making money. I mean, $7,900 for this network. For our Detroit network, $5,800. So, I mean, it's not making a huge amount of money, but also it's not losing money. Look, Detroit already has a person ready to go to Salt Lake City as well. When you will really start seeing money made between these passenger lines is when you connect up a 3rd city. For some reason, the AI doesn't find it very interesting to go between 2 cities, but a 3rd city it gets really excited about. And all of a sudden, it wants to be able to hop between those 3 cities. So honestly, in a near future episode, we're going to have to connect up either Mobile, which might be cool because if we do that, then we can link in the grain really easily, or Hartford, so that those 3 city connections pay off. St. Louis could definitely happen as well. It's just such a small city compared to these other ones. 72. Yeah, Mobile is double the size. Hartfield is almost double the size. So, Mobile would be my first bet. All right, let's see it coming to the station. Let's see. It's got several people here now. Great. Awesome. 7 people. Cool. 7 people. All right. So about half full on our first stop in Salt Lake City. And that will take those people all the way to Detroit. my way of ending this episode would definitely be to see how much money that pays off in Detroit. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our lines and see how we're doing. We'll follow that train as well. Okay, we have a pretty good balance sheet here. The iron to steel lines going well. Oil to fuel, we're going over 100,000 on each of those, and then we've got in the tens of thousands for the rest of them, except for this train line, which is really tanking us hard right now. But we hope that that will get into the positive profit here with this first drop off. Let's also take a look at our overall finances. We spent a lot of money this time around. So there's a lot of investments that are showing a negative balance. But you can kind of see we're at about 550 to 600,000 in road profits over the course of this last year. If we take a look over here, yes, it's paying off. Okay, we have 45 machine parts now ready to go to Hartford. So we need to increase the amount of trucks that are taking those goods to Hartford because that is moving too slow. We need that to go faster. So the increase in steel production over here is paying off in more machines being built there. We have now maxed out our iron to coal network. So we need to increase the amount of vehicles on the coal network. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our Detroit drop-off. Let's see how much money we make there. We made $62,000 off half the passengers for that train. That is not great. It's not great. This time, though, we have 15 passengers, so that should pay a little bit more. But again, you're not going to start making real money off this, unfortunately, until we link in a third city. And that might need to be a project we do sooner rather than later, simply by the fact of how much this is draining out of our account on a month-to-month basis. We can't sustain that type of financial slip. Okay, so it's just way more expensive to maintain these trains than it is bringing in for just this one route. So we need to make sure that that is good moving forward. So probably a future episode is going to be linking up a third city on that and then running the grain into the food production and then on that train route. So that's where we're going to cut it today. And next time we'll continue to expand into the desert. Thanks.